Magic the Gathering has a dozen new awesome legendary cards coming your way. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. We are here today to talk about some pretty exciting news. The possibility for 12 different awesome Magic cards that different people have been waiting for. This group we're going to talk about appeals to different subsets of the Magic populace. We're going to be talking about 12 legendary creature cards that at some point will be coming down the line to us. Now, this information was brought together by Mark Rosewater on an official Magic the Gathering article where he talks about the most requested characters to have their own cards that currently have never had one. Now, obviously, number one on the list, if they hadn't done it over there in an unset, would be Urza, because everybody wants to see Urza. And in all honesty, I'm waiting for an Urza in black bordered form, a genuine Urza that we can play real Magic with, none of this stuff, even though I am a fan of the cards. So this list that we're going to go through of the beautiful, forget dirty dozen, we're going to look at the beautiful dozen. And these will be beautiful to different people because admittedly, when I go through the list, there are certain ones that make me go, oh yes, I can't wait to see it. And other people will be like, what? Who even cares about this? It depends on how long you've been into Magic, what sort of parts of the storyline and the flavor you enjoy will determine who out of these 12 guys you're excited about. But anyways, here is a list of individuals, the characters that Rosewater gets the most requests to design. And as an added note, it says a number of these characters, by the way, are currently in files in upcoming products. That means some of them are already designed and on their way to us, and some of them will have to wait a bit for who knows how long. But he has the list of these different characters. Why wouldn't they eventually all show up? Considering they can be slotted into Commander products, considering they've got the new Modern Horizons, where we're seeing Sarah, which is one of those cards for old schoolers like me, is an amazing thing to see included. So, under these circumstances, it's entirely probable that we will get the full dozen of these, even if one or two are fairly questionable to me. The first one that we have is the most, if they do it, when they do it, I should say, it's going to be the most ridiculously named Magic card that's not an uncard. There was an old uncard that basically says something along the lines of, our market research has determined that players like cards with really long names, so this is a card with the longest name ever, Elemental. Something along those lines, where the name actually spirals around the card. It's a lot of fun. Well, this will be the first regular card to give it a run for its money. And anybody who's an old schooler like me will probably recognize the name and what it's from before I even mention the second part here. Now, I don't think I've ever read this out loud, in all honesty. I've read it on the card, but I've never read it out loud, so let's try it out. Asmoranomardicadaistinaculd. Now, Asmoranomardicadaistinaculd. Oh man, it just sounds like a huge medical disease. It's just a massive tongue twister of a name. But if you're old school and you used to pay attention to all the flavor and things like I did, you will know that this is actually from the flavor text of the Granite Gargoyle, where he talks about how to cook gargoyle flesh. I love the fact that they're doing that. So he's the author of the Underworld Cookbook. He will be getting his own card, apparently. The next one is one that for me is questionable, but I understand everybody has different wants. So some people may want to see this. I don't care personally about this guy because I call him D-Bag Hair. And that is the Curse guy from Commander 2017. I don't know if you guys, how many of you have seen the series of curses where it's all the same guy with his complete D-bag hair and just the look on his face and everything. The guy rubs me the wrong way. This is not a character that I personally want to see in Magic, but considering how frequently he must be asked for to make the top list, he still makes it into the awesome cards that are coming. Let's move on though. All right, then we've got Fblthp, the little homunculus, the one who's totally lost from Ravnica. Now I can see how they would want to make a card for this guy. They've already kind of shoved him into a bunch of different cards. You can see him on all kinds of cards he's in the captive audience going, oh no. You can see him in March of the Multitudes. You can see him in all kinds of different places. And on top of that, they've made a little like plushy dice bag of him, which admittedly I'm kind of a sucker for, so I'm going to pick one of those up. But anyways, they're already making merchandise off of him. So it's unsurprising that they are going to use him. And unlike the Gatewatch, who I get tired of seeing over and over, I actually enjoy the whole, like, he's just lost. You never know where he's going to pop up. He's just this tiny kind of little helpless guy. I kind of am curious to see what kind of mechanics, what he would be overall. All of that is interesting to me. So I like where my mind goes when I think about some of these cards being created. Now, there's some characters that admittedly I don't remember off the top of my head either. So there's characters like Feather, who I had to look up to remind myself was actually affiliated with Agros Kos from the Boros, the old Boros story. There you go. I just got a noise to indicate that I'm correct and know what's up. That's the correct alert. Anyhow, Agros Kos is, it was basically an angel that worked with him, had her wings bound until she had finally finished her service to the Boros. And then after that became kind of mysterious, flying off and returning to be a pallbearer for Kos. But other than that, just kind of off, doing her own thing. And I mean, obviously things change. She goes along. She gets that whole guildmaster thing. This isn't meant to be a huge lore video where I go into every aspect of the character. But for me, that was one where off the top of my head, I was just like, which one's this? That was the first one off the list that I had to go, who's this? Now the next one on the list, if you are old school, you remember the Phyrexian War, all that, the Brothers' War? Well then, it's going to be exciting to know that Gix is finally going to get a card. Now that makes perfect sense. I mean, you've already got him in a number of different places. You've got him in flavor text. You've got cards like the Claw of Gix and things like that. There are a number of cards that reference him. Priests of Gix, so he's already Gitaxian Pro. Well, I mean, that's not obviously Gix specifically, but it's inspired by him, right? So you have these old cards in terms of, not cards, sorry, because the card's not old, they haven't made it yet. Old characters. And for me, that's some really cool flavor. That brings back some big memories. I know the whole Urza's Brother War, that was a big deal for me. So I like cards that are hearkening back to that. And it also makes me hope for Urza. There's another card that makes me hope even more for Urza, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Then there's Hal and Alina. These ones, some kind of trackers from Innistrad. I think it's Halana might be the Hal part. I'm not 100% sure. Some of these characters don't really know them well, but you might be familiar with the names, might get you a little more excited. Kalist Roka, which funnily enough, when I copied it out of the article and tried to search for it in the wiki, it told me I was spelling it wrong. So I don't even know. There's some of these people only have like a little blurb. So I'm not sure exactly who these people are. Massacre Girl, for example, was literally just mentioned in some kind of flavor text, right? She's mentioned on, I think it's like Thrill Kill Assassin or something like that is the card that specifically mentions that there are copycats who are copying Massacre Girl and causing problems all over the city, right? That's it. Just kind of mentioned in some flavor text. Probably, maybe, there may be other flavor text as well. But funnily enough, that's what people thought Judith was going to be. But I mean, then they just went with like old Aunt Judy for a name, which is admittedly not nearly as cool as Massacre Girl. Next up, we've got Pashalik Mons. Do you know what that's referencing? Unless you played since the beginning and you know Mons Goblin Raiders, because if you didn't start in the beginning, you're probably not going to know Mons is Goblin Raiders at all, right? They're just vanilla 1/1 goblins with a big old flavor text blurb. But they're actually named after this dude named Mons who helped with the playtesting of Magic the Gathering. So this is Pashalik Mons, the leader of Mons' Goblin Raiders, which is actually pretty interesting. Most people just call them Mons Goblin Raiders, but it's Mons' Goblin Raiders. Either way, this is another one that harkens back to the old school days. So for me, it's got a big fat thumbs up there. I'm curious to see what it's going to be, even if I don't care that much about the goblins. Now, a note, if you do go to the article, they technically have 13 cards on the list, but Sarah is the next one on the list. We already know that's going to be coming out in Modern Horizons, so we're just going to skip by that one. Then there's Shadowblade, who's from Kaladesh. He was part of the Renegade group. I don't know, honestly, the Kaladesh block really bothered me with its flavor and all the trains and cars and things that don't feel magic. So I basically kind of ignored most of the storyline for all that. I know very little about the Kaladesh storyline, but that's fine. As it progresses more into Magic's history, I'll become more accustomed to it, but for now, it's something I've kind of glossed over and don't care very much about. The next one is unnamed white-black angel sister from Innistrad. You might be going like, what? All right, well, there's those 3 angels that you already have, like Gisela, Brizella, all those angels. Basically, there was 4. There was 4 angels, but we were only ever shown 3 in Innistrad. And they never mentioned the character's name. There's a set of 4 sister angels that are all older than Avacyn, and they've been on Innistrad for a fair bit of time there, but nobody knows who the 4th one is. So apparently that gets a lot of requests. I had no idea. And the final one, my friends, is the one that truly, truly, truly excites me and gives me hope that we'll actually get a black-bordered Urza. And if you can't guess who I'm about to say, if you're in old school and I've talked about Urza this much, I mean, come on. Who does it have to be? And no, I don't mean Mishra, because they already made a Mishra card, right? So who else could it be? That's right, the father of machines, Yawgmoth. Yawgmoth may finally get a card. And if you remember, they made a sorcery aligned to Urza and one to Yawgmoth in Dominaria. And it gives me hope that we might actually see Yawgmoth and Urza in the same set. It just feels so right. The question is, will they do it? I don't know if they'll put them together. Urza's not on this list, but at the beginning, he does say, he does specifically mention how Urza was a really easy answer because he was far and away the most requested card, basically character to turn into a card overall. That was the biggest deal in terms of make us this card. So I hold out big hopes for Urza. I want you guys to let me know which ones of these are you excited about, because we all have different subsections of interest in Magic the Gathering. So I want to know which of these 12 legendary cards are the ones that tickle your giggles. You know what I mean? And we're going to check in with the 6 color of Magic.
And together we are the 6 color of Magic.
All right, one last thing to do, and that is to roll the golden scroll. The people of my back on Patreon or through channel memberships, we are welcoming the newest resident of the golden scroll, and that is Cloud Brooks. Thanks for signing up with that channel membership, brother. It is much appreciated. And to all of you, I will see you guys tomorrow.